1929. There was a guy by the name of John Griffith. Just came through the big stock market crash, headed into the Great Depression. He took his family and moved off trying to find some work. Him and his wife, and just had a baby boy. They found him a place down the Mississippi River. And down that Mississippi River, he found him a job as a bridge conductor. And what his job was, he would sit in this little conductor's booth over here, and if a ship was coming through, he'd raise that thing, let them ships pass through. But if a train was coming, he'd hear the train horn, and he would lower that thing down and let the train come by. All day long, he just pushed buttons. He had a son named Greg. Greg was now about 8 years old. Sometimes John would take Greg to work with him and let Greg sit up in this little control room. He would let Greg, he said, Greg, push this button. And Greg thought that was just a wonderful thing. One day, it's about noon. He looked at his son and said, we packed our lunch. And they left and went down the catwalk, and they went down by the Mississippi River, and they said they was just going to have their lunch. They got to talking. They enjoyed each other's company, a father and a son. All of a sudden, time got away, and he looked. It was 107, the 107 train. Here he's come. And he looked up, and the bridge is up. There's hundreds of people on this train. He says, Greg, you stay right here. Don't you move. You stay right here. And he runs back up to that control room because he wants to push the button because there's a time limit where that bridge will fall and that train could come through. Little did John know, by the time he got to that control room, he heard his son cry, and his son was trying to follow his dad back up to, and he fell off the catwalk, and now he's amongst all of the things that make that bridge go up and down. John has to make a decision. Do I leave this bridge up and go save my son? Because if I let this bridge down, it's going to kill my son. But there's over 100 people on that train. He had 40 seconds to make his mind up. At the last minute, John pushed that button to lower that bridge down on his own son to save a bunch of people he didn't know. He heard the cries of his son screaming out through the conductor's window there as the train passed. Just in the nick of time, the bridge passed and the train's coming by. People are reading the newspaper. There's a couple over here playing cards. There's a couple people over here having a meal, their lunch meal on the train. Never looked out the window, never heard the cries, never knew what had happened. John Griffith hollered they couldn't hear him, but he hollered at the train saying, don't you know, my son just died so you could live. People didn't care. They didn't know. They kept on with their daily lives, not knowing that John Griffith spared not his son and delivered him up for a bunch of people on that train. Can I tell you this? We live in a world today that people look at the cross. They read scriptures like we read today where God delivered up his own son, spared not, put the whole judgment of God upon his son. There's people going through their daily lives, not a care in the world that God gave his only begotten son to die for the sins of mankind.